Welcome to Alimentary, the podcast series where you'll not only learn about your amazing body, how it works, and of course why food is so important, but also pick up some simple recipes and lifestyle tips and tweaks which will help you to influence your health in a positive way. So we know that all of our organs are vital for life and really important, but what is it about the liver that makes it so vital? And how can we maintain it and keep it working well for us? So what we're going to do is I'm going to tell you a little bit about the functions that it carries out, and then also we'll go into the kind of foods that can help to keep it working well. So it's an organ in our digestive system, and it's also the largest gland in our body. It filters and cleans 1.4 litres of blood every minute. So that kind of blows my mind. The liver actually performs over 500 functions. So it's pretty busy. And, we need to make sure that we treat it well so that it can carry out all of these functions and not come under pressure. So I mentioned that it filters and cleans the blood. So our blood can be carrying particles and microbes. So that's things that are maybe leftover debris that's left over from things we've eaten, things we've breathed in, and also microbes, which are like tiny little things, little pieces of bacteria or fungi, that kind of thing. So our liver is constantly cleaning the blood to make sure that it's only delivering nutrients to our cells and oxygen, of course. It detoxifies. So as part of that cleaning process, then it also neutralizes these toxins as well. So, of course, toxins are also things like drugs and alcohol, fatty acids, excess hormones, ammonia, and environmental toxins and allergens. So our liver is constantly working to actually neutralize those, make them less harmful, and then as part of the digestive system, obviously to excrete them as well. But it does many other things. So it would be involved in the conversion of T4 to T3. So T4 and T3 are thyroid hormones, and T3 is the active form of the thyroid hormone. And the liver does most of the conversion from T4 to T3. It does happen in other locations too. But again, the thyroid hormone and its importance we'll leave to another day. It also helps detoxify fat. It helps our immune system because I mentioned earlier that it actually filters out viruses, bacteria and fungi. So as part of our immune system, the liver helps to contain viruses and pathogens. So when we talk about cholesterol, a lot of people just mention it in reference to a blood test that's come back from their GP and their cholesterol's too high, and they have to sort that out. But actually, cholesterol is a raw material. So it's what they call a precursor, which is like one of the raw materials for our hormones. So it's really important. Obviously, it's important that your low density, your bad cholesterol isn't too high. When you get your cholesterol levels, it's a good idea to become familiar with the ratio between your HDL, which is your good cholesterol, your LDL, which is your bad cholesterol, and your triglycerides, which is the amount of fat circulating in your blood. So obviously the ratio should be in favor of the high density, the HDL. But anyway, in and of itself, cholesterol is actually raw material for hormones. So we do produce that in the liver. It's also involved in protein synthesis. So what that means is that it makes some proteins which enable various different functions to happen around the body. So for example, prothrombin, which is would be part of blood clotting, lipoproteins, which is your cholesterol, so the transport of cholesterol around the body, globulins, which are part of our immune function, albumin, which is related to oncotic pressure, and oncotic pressure is related to osmosis. I don't know if you remember the word from science at school. I always remember that word. I haven't figured out a simple way of explaining why that's important, but it's to do with a certain type of fluid retention. And an albumin deficiency can cause issues with your kidneys, for example. Ceruloplasmin, which is that enables copper to be available to us. And copper is actually a really important mineral, and it's important for our nervous system, our immune system, and it actually also activates our genes, and it's needed for brain development and various different things like that. So the synthesis of these proteins in the liver is really, really important to many other functions around the body. Now, the liver also will release sugar. It will store fat and glucose, so that when we need it, when our blood sugar gets low, the liver will release some blood sugar into our blood. It also produces bile, and bile is very important for digestion. So it actually disperses fats into smaller droplets, which makes them more water soluble. And then it neutralizes also excess stomach acid and destroys microbes in food. So it's secreted from our liver. Whatever we're not using is secreted into our gallbladder and stored there until it's needed. The liver is also involved in producing heat, and it stores micronutrients like copper, zinc, magnesium, iron, vitamins A, D, E, and K, which we know are fat-soluble vitamins, and also some vitamin B12. So we mentioned earlier that it filters our blood. So that makes it a really important part of our immune system, because it's actually, managing the containing, I should say, the viruses and pathogens that are in our system. So it's containing them, neutralizing them, and then as part of the digestive system, it's excreting them. So they're just some of the many, many functions that the liver carries out. So I hope that they're an indication of just how important it is for our overall health. I kind of think of the liver in terms of like being a processing or packaging plant. So when the blood flows through the liver, it has to go through phase 1 first, and this is where the potentially harmful toxins are made less harmful. But this process does result in the production of free radicals. And remember, free radical damage, we need our antioxidants to prevent this. We don't want free radical damage to our cells. So that's why it's really important that we're eating foods high in antioxidants, and particularly vitamin C and vitamin E, in order to deal with these free radicals and make sure that they don't cause any other issues. So these antioxidants also then require the help of vitamin B2 and B3 and magnesium and iron, and some other nutrients like glutathione, folic acid, which is vitamin B9, and pyridoxine, which is vitamin B6, and cobalamin, which is vitamin B12, zinc, flavonoids, and protein. So I'm going to be going through a list of foods that you can choose from, that are really helpful and beneficial to your liver in a little while. Phase 2 in the process. So this is kind of like the packaging plant. So this is where the harmful toxins have been removed from the blood, but they need to be packaged up so that they can, carry on through the digestive system and be excreted. So in this section, then we need nutrients like choline, inositol, glycine, glutamine, and they render the toxins absolutely harmless and make them soluble so that they can be excreted. So phase 3 is kind of like the transport system out of the liver into the rest of the digestive system, where these toxins can be excreted from the body. And glycoproteins are really important. They call it an antiporter in the small intestine that moves toxins from cells and into the gut. So how would we know if our liver needs a little bit of TLC, if it's under a little bit of pressure and needs some support? Well, there are physical signs that we can take note of. So I think probably the first one will be feeling fatigued or sluggish and just dull generally. If we're not dealing with toxins and eliminating them, then they steal our energy, so we're going to feel tired. If you wake up and you have a white or yellow coating on your tongue, or your breath isn't great, that can be a sign that your body is trying to detoxify in another way, so you're detoxifying through your tongue maybe overnight. By the way, if that happens, don't use your toothbrush to clean your tongue. Use a spoon, or you can get tongue scrapers as well, but try and scrape off the coating rather than, brushing it in. Sort of weight gain around your abdomen. Cravings or blood sugar issues, headaches, because obviously when you have all those toxins circulating, that can cause headaches as well. Indigestion, so that might lead to like malabsorption or anemia. Tremors, nausea after fatty meals, because remember our bile helps to absorb fat. Intolerance of strong smells like perfumes, for example. A pain on the right side of your stomach. Your liver is like a triangle shape, and most of it, the wedge side of the liver is on your right side. Confusion and skin breakouts, or maybe rashes, that kind of thing as well. So what might drive issues with our liver? So a leaky gut, So this is where our leaky gut would expose the liver to bacteria. Leaky gut is where the walls of our intestine have been compromised, and so food and bacteria and pathogens are getting out into the blood before our intestine, our digestive tract has a chance to deal with them. So that can expose the liver to that. Stress. So when we're stressed, natural killer cells are expanded in the liver. And so sometimes they can contribute to worsening of liver disease. And also in the brain that controls the liver, stress was found to impair blood flow and may lead to liver damage. And of course, being on some medications long term. So there is an interesting aspect to this as well. According to medical science, a personality can change in the presence of hepaticencephalopathy, which is a disorder caused by a buildup of toxins in the brain. And that can happen with advanced liver disease. So this is an extreme example. But it affects a lot of things like your behavior, your mood, your speech, your sleep, or even the way you move, and sometimes the symptoms are so mild that you mightn't even notice. So I'm going to put a link to an article about that in the show notes, just because I always like to reinforce the notion that an issue with one organ, will eventually have an impact on another organ. So we need to look at our overall health, and taking care of our liver is going to actually improve the health of our other organs as well. Now, it is a fascinating organ because it is the only one which can actually regrow and regenerate. Because, and again, evolution and nature are just amazing. And because of how vital the liver is and its functions are to our overall health, evolution ensured that it can regrow rapidly as long as it's kept healthy. So, and this has been seen in all vertebrates. So from fish right up to humans. Once we have a minimum of 25% of the tissue remaining, then it can regrow to its previous size and ability without any loss of function during the growth process. So there were some studies in mice, and they were found out that if 2/3 of the liver was removed, the remaining liver tissue can regrow to its original size within 5 to 7 days. Now, in humans, the process takes a wee bit longer, but it can still occur in 8 to 15 days, which is an incredible achievement. It just goes to show, nature is so fascinating, and we really need to respect what's going on in our bodies and do what we can to help it. So what can we do, and how can we structure our diet to support our liver health? So realistically, we can't avoid being exposed to toxins in our environment, but we can reduce the amount of food additives and sugar in our diet, so we can reduce the amount of toxins that we're actually putting into our mouth. Reduce the load on the liver is the first thing we can do to help support its function. So that just means reducing sugar, reduce processed foods, increase our vegetables, which have all of those fabulous minerals and nutrients that the different phases of the liver need to work properly, and also regular exercise. So what foods? So we're talking about a mixture of fruit, vegetables, meat and fish, and then some other foods as well. So if we look at the fruit first, and you should ideally have 2 to 3 portions daily. So we're going with apples. Remember, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. Apples, apricots, avocados, bananas, berries, figs, grapefruit, and lemons and limes. Of course, lemons are always associated with, cleansing and detoxifying as well. So our vegetables, we want 4 to 6 portions daily. And the ones which are particularly good for the liver are asparagus, beets, bell peppers, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, carrots, cauliflower, onions or shallots, leeks, mushrooms, raw garlic, spinach, sweet potatoes and tomatoes. So meat and fish, beef, chicken, lamb, mackerel, salmon, sardines, tuna and turkey. And then others which are beneficial as well. So we have our almonds, apple cider vinegar, brown rice, coconut oil, dandelion root, dark chocolate, woohoo, eggs, green tea, and you can have a coffee a day. I always say coffee mid-morning is fine. It's an anti-nutrient, so you don't want to have your coffee with one of your main meals. But mid-morning isn't going to affect your sleep either. So it has an 8-hour half-life. So basically that means that in 8 hours time, half of the caffeine is still running around in your system. So a coffee in the morning, mid-morning is no problem. Lentils, oats, olive oil, pumpkin seeds, sesame seeds, sunflower seeds, turmeric, and walnuts. So there's a great variety there of foods that you can choose from, and have some from each section in your diet every day, and you'll be supporting your liver function, as well as, of course, reducing the load of processed foods. So I just did want to mention quickly detoxing as well, because of course, with all of the fad diets out there, detox diets, will be among them. But the problem with them is that, first of all, if we're looking after ourselves, we don't need to do a detox diet because our body is built to detox. So we have our liver, our lymphatic system, our kidneys, our digestive system, they're all working to detox all the time. Primarily, a lot goes on at night in particular, but during the day as well. With detox diets, if we detox too fast, toxins are released from our fat cells and they're circulating in our system. And if we haven't structured it in order to get rid of them, eliminate them properly, then we're going to have headaches, poor memory, stomach pain, nausea, fatigue, dizziness, maybe even palpitations. And these side effects are the result of these toxins being released into the blood and into our circulation. And that's why people feel so awful, when they change their routine and maybe they start exercising excessively or losing weight very, very quickly, So, you need to be wary, be aware. First of all, doing it more slowly is more manageable. The water that you drink can help flush them out, those good foods that we mentioned. But also, these toxins need to be escorted out of our system. So, if you can imagine, say, I sometimes think of it like, imagine, the disco's over. I'm sort of showing my age there saying disco. The club is finished and everybody's piling out onto the street and everybody's looking for a taxi at the same time. It's going to get messy. So we want to do it in a manageable way. But there are some foods like coriander is a great herb, if you are feeling that you need a little bit of help in detoxing. So think of these foods kind of like bouncers, they're going to escort the toxins out. So coriander, you could add to your salad leaves. You could put them in soup or into curries. Chlorella is another good powder. It's actually an algae, but you can usually find it in your health food shop in powder form. And if you put a teaspoon of that in water daily, that can help. Those two foods, they bind to toxins and they aid their speedy excretion. And as I say, just reducing the load again, it's no harm in reiterating that, cut out the sugar and the processed foods or reduce them, increase your intake of water and herbal teas. That will help flush them out as well. And make sure that you're getting in some of those lovely fruit and vegetables. Also, exercise is going to release toxins. So increase your exercise slowly and also make sure that you're hydrating, so that you can flush them out. So with the liver in mind, I thought that today's store cupboard staple could be apple cider vinegar. So this is a home remedy which has been used since before 5000 BC. In fact, Hippocrates, who's the father of modern medicine, often prescribed it mixed with honey for coughs and colds. So you could say, I guess, through the ages, apple cider vinegar has been used to support our immune system responses and detoxification of the liver and the lymph nodes, and also to stimulate circulation and purify our blood, which obviously our liver does. Recently, more studies have been carried out to research its benefits. So this is what we actually know about it. Acetic acid, which is produced in the fermentation process and which gives vinegar its taste and smell, can kill harmful bacteria. So it's like a natural antibiotic, and that includes candida. So if you have a candida overgrowth, it can be useful. It also helps our beneficial bacteria in our gut to grow. It has an alkalizing effect in the body. So we want when we balance our body's pH, we can reduce the risk of illness and increase our energy levels, because when we're too acidic, we increase our risk of cellular damage. Apple cider vinegar contains polyphenols, and these are antioxidants which can help reduce cell damage. It also can be useful if you're suffering from acid reflux, and obviously diluted apple cider vinegar can often help relieve those symptoms. Now, if you have low potassium levels, you might not want to drink apple cider vinegar, obviously diluted always. Good sources of potassium, by the way, are avocados, bananas, and potatoes. If you have any condition which you're being medically treated for or on any medications, always check to see if there's any foods or drinks which might contraindicate with those. So a convenient way to take apple cider vinegar can be in a drink in the morning or in the evening. Of course, it's always going to be diluted because it would be too hard on your esophagus otherwise. So having it with some lemon juice and some honey. So maybe, a slice of lemon squeezed into the cup, and also maybe half a teaspoon to a teaspoon of honey with a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. Now, you might want to just start off with a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar and build up to the tablespoon. And let, boil up your water and then just let it cool down till it's just warm. This drink so we know the benefits of apple cider vinegar, but of course adding the lemon is going to add natural digestive enzymes, vitamin C, calcium, potassium, pectin, and antibacterial properties, and also trace amounts of iron and vitamin A. And then adding the honey, well, the honey is antibacterial and antifungal. It's a natural sweetener, and it also contains antioxidants which help prevent cellular damage. Honey also aids the absorption of calcium. It's a cough suppressant, and it also supports healthy sleep patterns. So this could be, a good drink to have in the evening because it triggers the release of serotonin. This is the honey again, which triggers the release of serotonin, and that's converted into melatonin, which helps to regulate the length and quality of our sleep. So that's a very simple way to take it. Now, I would say if you're going to drink that, then use a steel straw, because while the lemon juice and the apple cider vinegar are alkalizing once they get inside us, they're obviously on the outside, they can damage the enamel on our teeth. So we want to protect our teeth. So using a steel straw is a good way to do that. You can also add apple cider vinegar to your salad dressings. So if you have a recipe for a dressing and it has white wine vinegar or balsamic in it, you can replace that with the apple cider vinegar. I'm going to put up a link to a recipe I have for potato salad because I use apple cider vinegar in the dressing for that. When you look online, apple cider vinegar has a plethora of uses around the house as well. So anything from rinsing your hair for additional shine, for making up toners, for warts, for relieving sunburn, all sorts of things. But the recipes for making up cleaners that you can use around the house as well, which will be more environmentally friendly. So I'll put up a couple of links to those too. So hopefully all of that will encourage you to add a bottle of apple cider vinegar with the mother into your shopping trolley this week, along with some of those other fabulous foods that are going to help your liver and support its amazing functions. So your cruciferous vegetables, your almonds, which we had as a store cupboard staple already, your lemons too, So adding in all of these fabulous foods every day will help support that detoxifying liver function that's helping to keep you. Thank you for listening to today's episode. I just wanted to clarify that the podcast is for informational purposes only and does not substitute professional care from a doctor or trained health professional, nor does it constitute medical advice or services if you're in a position to need either. However, if you find it interesting, you can subscribe to make sure you don't miss future episodes or sign up for my newsletter on lynsharkeynutrition.ie.